141 million. That's how many people have tuned in to a crazy story unfolding in Utah in the last few months. Two guys, Chandler and Josh, met a homeless man named Trevor. And then they did something almost no one else would do. They moved him into their house, a house that doesn't even have locks on the doors. And then they started documenting what happened. When we first saw the story, I'll be honest, I had questions. Because a lot of people do things for attention now, especially when a camera is involved. But after spending time with Chandler and Josh behind the scenes, I can tell you firsthand, these guys are the real deal. This was genuine. But here's the thing. This is not just a story about two guys helping someone on the street, as incredible as that is. It's a story about you and everything that modern life is not telling you. Because everywhere you look, the message seems to be the same. Heal yourself, protect yourself, optimize yourself. And don't get me wrong, some of that matters. We talk about those things all the time on this podcast. But even with all that optimization, so many people still feel powerless, still empty, still alone inside their own life. And I think Chandler and Josh's story points to the missing piece, that maybe the way you take your life back is not by making your life even more about you. Maybe it's by giving more of it away. And I think pretty quickly you'll realize this is more than a story. It's a warning shot to an entire generation. So you guys decide you're going to move a homeless man into your house. And Chandler, you're the one who goes to pick Trevor up. So tell me about that specific day. What happened, and when he gets in the car, what's the first thing he says to you?
Yeah, so I did just get back from a vacation, and it was like the next day, and we were kind of just jumping right into it. But I went to pick Trevor up, and first thing he tells me is, "Dude, I almost just got arrested." And I was like, what? Because obviously it would have been really crazy if I went to find him and he couldn't contact me. He just obviously could have disappeared and I wouldn't have known where to look. And I obviously don't know how long he would have been in jail and how long I would have kept looking. We did look for him many times, but yeah, he had blood on his knuckles. He ended up punching somebody. They were trying to steal his stuff, which is very common on the streets.
Obviously, this is like a big decision. He's like moving into the house. I mean, like when that happened and then he walks in the car with blood on his face and you guys just made the decision, like, were there thoughts that ran through your mind of like, what are we doing?
I think what we've had to do in this whole thing is just trust. So much trust. And I was just ready. I kind of all in. I know that there's a lot of change that Josh and I want to make, and we're going to have to do unconventional things if we want to make that change happen. So I think that my resolve was just high. Like I was just all in. I had a lot of people kind of questioning what I was doing and why I was doing it, and even people questioning the ethics of it, but I was just in. Another thing that I remember is the room that I'm sleeping in. Yeah. It doesn't have a lock. And if you know anything about homelessness, basically homeless people cannot sleep at night because they get kicked out of everywhere. And so Trevor's nervous system was messed up. His sleep schedule was completely destroyed. So he couldn't sleep at night because of that. And the first couple nights I was going to bed, I just heard him moving around all night and everything. And a lot of people have kind of questions like, well, what if they have, like a personality disorder and they do something to you in the middle of the night? But that was something I just completely accepted the possibility of as he went into it. Because I heard him the whole night. Anytime I woke up, he was just pacing around, going in and out of the doors. Like I didn't even know what. And again, we didn't know Trevor that well before we moved in. And yeah, so I just completely accepted every possibility, but I just chose to trust, and I trusted my intuition.
Obviously, the people listening right now, at least some people, probably are like, this is insane. This is a reckless thing for people to do, just move a homeless man into the house. And I'd imagine, and you alluded to this, I'd imagine people close to you like had some of those same thoughts. And so when you started saying this was something that you were going to do? What was like the consensus?
My mom, she obviously was like, don't do that. Why would you do that? And I basically just said, just trust me, Mom, I'll be good. Not knowing if I'd be good, but yeah, I even had some friends questioning my motivations as well, just because we were documenting the whole thing. And there's some people that were like, dude, you shouldn't be doing that. That's just, obviously you're taking advantage of that person in a low state, and you don't just, why are you doing this? Is it just for publicity? Or had a couple conversations, difficult conversations with friends like that.
What was like the worst case scenario that they were painting for you?
Burn the house down.
I had a lot of people just making jokes that I was going to get murdered, basically, and people do in the Instagram as well. Just like, you're gonna. I think we had a guy on Facebook. What did he say
on my latest video? He just the
one I saw this morning.
Oh, well, there's one on mine. It's a guy tagging every news article of a homeless person moving in with someone and murdering them in their sleep and like stealing everything, like all these horrible deaths. And I just laughed because I was like, okay, that's heartbreaking that happened, but this is not that. But from an outside perspective, it probably seems like that.
It makes sense as far as just humanness goes, but people let their experiences obviously taint some of their outlook of the world, and they let it make them hard, if that makes sense. They get more jaded. Jaded is the word.
So those comments, whether it's from people in your personal life or online, like that never created any doubts for you guys of like,
not for me, no.
He's going to like walk in and just stab me in the middle of the night.
I honestly, there's been times in my life that I've been lost, and a lot of my theme for myself has just been purpose over fear. But I've been really facing a lot of fears, and I'm fully all in. Whatever, we're going to do a lot of stuff in the future as well. We're just getting started, and I'm just all in. And if that, I think there's going to be some difficult situations that present themselves in the future, but genuinely, no, I didn't question that much. Even when Trevor was up walking around in the middle of the night and everything, I just was like, okay, this is what it is. And obviously if something did happen, then that's that, and we'll take care of it as it goes. But there's been a lot of trust with all of us. Even Josh has had people question me and Trevor to him. And I've had people say, like, why do you trust Josh so much? Like
seeding doubt all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So people have questioned me about Josh. People have questioned Josh about me. And then obviously both of us to Trevor
and
as
even
well.
And to Trevor about us. They're like, you sure they're not trying to take advantage of you and just use you for views and money? And like, I think people also think that Instagram just pays you money because like that's pretty much all we were posting on and getting no money. People are like, well, you're making all this Instagram money. It's like,
you should be able to.
No, I'm losing money right now. I'm losing money, like paying for food, paying rent, like all of the thing, paying for the flights to bring him out to New York. We'll get to that later. Yeah. But like so many things that I was like, no, I'm actually just burning money. But yeah,
I mean, that's a good point to bring up. I mean, because, you know, the cynical view, I mean, obviously it must be addressed. A lot of people do extreme things online today for attention. And, the Knicks just won the championship in New York. And one of the things that I was sifting through online is like, I couldn't tell which scenes from like these gatherings afterwards were staged by streamers and what were like actual genuine fights that were happening. And it's like streamers will go online and they'll like run in front of a car and just get hit by it. And then the stream. So if people have that view and they're like, they moved a homeless man into their house because they knew it would go viral, like what would your response be?
So first off, we've had people claim our videos are AI, like his transformation video. We've had people claim they're not even the same person. We've had people claim that he's my dad and I'm just taking videos to make fun of him. So we've had a lot of people obviously claiming fake. But what I will say about that is I think a lot of people think that getting attention is inherently negative, but I think it can be used as a positive thing. If you know how to get attention, you can bring attention to the right things. And I think a lot of people obviously just view the whole homelessness situation as a taboo thing. And they just don't like to look at it, kind of like we were talking about a little bit earlier. It's like, if I don't look at this, I don't have to think about it. But we want to bring that to light. We want to bring a lot of attention to these things. So I think it's okay, because with this attention, we're going to want to get people involved in change and service and having a positive outlook on a lot of those things and showing that change is possible. Really empowering the viewer and empowering the people that we're telling the stories of. So it obviously all is purposefully to get attention, but it is also with the intention of solving issues long term. And that's why I am just kind of so confident in that when people are leaving those comments and everything. I know why I'm doing this, and I know what change I am trying to make and just the impact that I'm trying to make. So it's okay. And everything is going to get some negative feedback, and that's just the case. And I'm learning how to deal with that. But attention is a great thing if you funnel it towards the right things. Yeah. So
I want to add as well, there's been a lot of comments, and to me, the comments kind of portray the state of the world. The fact that people view a video like that, and an overwhelming amount of people are like, no one does that. Why would anyone do that? I don't think it's real. Their belief system is that the world is inherently a negative place where everyone takes advantage of each other, which I actually understand, because I grew up thinking the world was magical. And then I became like an adult, and then I was like, oh, everyone just wants my money. No one cares about my presence, my time, my love. Everyone purely just wants to take advantage of me. And so to shift away from that and start doing things that counter those beliefs in people, for me, the more evidence that you have of like, oh, these people, they did it once with Trev. Maybe they had an agenda. Maybe they had this. But if we do it enough, eventually it's going to shift people's perspectives that were the biggest doubters. That were like, dude, no one does that. But if they see it enough, I'm like, dude, you'll start to question whether there are good people in the world and whether people are actually doing things just for the betterment of society.
You said there was a point in your life where you realized you could walk past another human being suffering and feel almost nothing. And so I feel like that's pretty relevant here when talking about motivations. So take me back to that realization.
So yeah, when that started, because I don't even remember ever like seeing homeless people as a kid. I don't think I ever like went into like big cities. So I didn't even realize that was really a thing, maybe outside of like a movie. But when I became an adult and I was dealing with so much of my own, I was feeling so disconnected from myself. And I felt like I didn't even have solutions for myself. When I started walking past homeless people, I was like, dude, I can't look at you, because if I do, I'm going to start feeling responsible. I'm going to be like, well, Josh, you need to do something. Like, no one's doing anything for this person. But I also don't know what to do. I would look at them and be like, what am I supposed to do? Hand them money? I don't think money's going to do any good. Like, yeah, it could buy them their next meal. And as I grew, the more I was like, no, they probably are going to use that for drugs. So the best thing I can do is just avoid them. And if I avoid them, I don't have to feel responsible. I don't have to solve their problems. And someone else can solve it. Like, hopefully the government. And as I grew up, obviously the government is not solving that. And really a lot started to shift within me. And I started to see myself in other people out in society. And eventually it led me to just looking at homeless people and being like, I actually don't understand them as well as I think I do. And everyone claims to understand them. Oh, they're this. They're just drug addicts. They just want your money for this. They're all going to take advantage of you. They're all going to try and stab you if you get too close. And over the course of me coming back to myself, I released my fear of death completely. And I was like, dude, even if a homeless person killed me, like, it's not worst case scenario. Let's be honest. Like, worst case scenario is I have to I won't even go there. So a part of me was like, I want to start facing them, like just looking at them and being like, okay, who is this person? What's their story? Where are they from? like what brought them to where they are. And that led me to one day I just bought, I think it was Chipotle, and I was driving by a park in the city and I saw two guys, and I was like, okay, I'm going to just go sit and I'm going to hand them lunch. And I noticed that everyone hands out food, but no one ever sits and talks to them. And I was like, dude, if I was homeless, I would get so lonely. And everyone just assumes that they have each other, but there's tons of people laying by themselves all the time. So I was like, I'm going to just go sit and talk with them and just see what happens. And if they try to stab me, I'm faster than them probably, so I can run away. So I brought the first guy lunch and just sat, and I was like, can I eat with you? And he was like, oh, yeah. And I could tell he was like, what? No one does that. So like, what are you doing? Just started asking him questions the same way I would ask a friend questions. And we had this deep philosophical, spiritual conversation for like 30 minutes. I can't remember his name, but I have a picture with him. And we stand up and I was like, can I give you a hug? And it's funny because homeless people end up giving the best hugs. Like when you deprive someone of touch and of love, they typically respond with so much love because they're like, finally, feels like someone walking through a desert that has reached an oasis. So we just hugged like for 20 seconds. And I was like, that was lovely. And then I go to the next guy, same thing. Super happy, smiley guy. We chat about just all this stuff. I barely understood half the stuff he said. Same thing. I was like, dude, can I give you a hug? Gave me a huge hug, took a picture with him. And that's when I started to realize, I was like, oh, they're just like me. Like I will never walk past another homeless person and look away.
Well, take me into that first moment you met Trevor, Josh.
Yep.
Like where was he and what stood out to you about him?
So I was driving home from our yoga at the park event, and the guy was laying down against the side of the building just reading on like a sleeping bag. And I was like, oh, this is an interesting guy. It's rare that you find homeless people reading. So I asked him, I was like, hey, do you want some pizza? And he just turns and looks at me like, whoa. And the man was Trevor. And the moment I looked into his eyes, I was like, this guy has a lot of kindness and like softness in his eyes. And before I could even like think, I was just like, hey, can I eat with you? And I think he was caught off guard because once again, most people just hand food and walk off and don't really say anything like, oh, have a good day. So he was caught off guard and was like, oh, sure. So I sit down, immediately just start eating a piece of pizza. And I was like, so tell me about yourself. And the conversation for me was not, oh, I need to approach this with pity. I've eliminated that from my perspective. Homeless people don't need pity. Homeless people need friendship and love. So I was like, I'm going to show up just like I would for Chandler. So we started chatting, and he's telling me about how he lost his dad like 5-6 years ago. His dad got a brain tumor, got on chemo, and like slowly died. And then I think a week after his dad died, his brother OD'd. And then I think within the month, his wife divorced him. And I was just sitting there like, oh man, this guy's been through it. And I don't know exactly why he's on the street, because I can't assume that those events led him to this. But I know for a fact that he is carrying the weight of those events still within him. And me and Chandler had talked a lot prior to this for probably a couple months of like how we want to show up for people, specifically the homeless. And we had started going out and handing out food and talking to people. And I told him, I was like, dude, I want to help someone more than just talking to them. And I don't know how that looks, truly. And neither of us did. But I was like, let's just put our heart and soul into that idea and see what comes of it. And as I was talking to Trevor, I just looked at him. I was like, I feel like he's our guy.
Josh told me that.
He is the guy that we are going to help. And we're not going to try and fix, but he's the guy that I feel like we can actually support. So I asked him, I was like, hey, me and my buddy Chan, this is what we're doing. This is what we do. We want to help. Would you like us to help? And he was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And I was like, we want to help you change. Really at the core of it. Like whatever brought you to the street, I don't know, but we want to help you get on your feet again. And he said yes. I asked him, I was like, do you have a phone? Because if you don't have a phone, we might be screwed. He's like, I don't have a phone. So drove over to Verizon that day and bought a flip phone, like a prepaid flip phone for the month. Drove back, gave it to him. And I know for him, he was like, oh, this guy's like bringing me a phone. Well, like this is clearly different than other situations.
And everything else, yeah.
Yeah, and even just the conversation. He was like, what? No one does this. And so after I leave, I call Chan and I tell him, I was like, yeah, dude, this is our guy. Like, I just have a feeling. And we had no idea what would come. Like, I had no idea what it was like to even show up for someone like that in the long term. And so figured just develop friendship. Don't think big picture. Don't think like we need to have everything figured out. It was, what's the next moment? And then we'll just go from there. And I was like, okay, Chan and Trev need to meet. So I asked Trev, I was like, dude, we want to take you to lunch. You can meet Chan. You're going to love him. The moment they met, they just instantly vibed. Trev loved Chan. Chan loved Trev. Like, couldn't have worked out better. We go get these burgers and talk for 2 hours just about life. It wasn't like a plan on how to fix him or what exactly we're going to do. And like, oh, we're going to get you a job and a home and this and this and this. We're just like, no, we just want to get to know you.
Prior to this interview, we spoke with Trevor, and one of the things that really hit me was he was really impacted that you remembered his name initially. And so that seems so small.
Yeah.
Why is something like that so meaningful?
I think to me, the name for a lot of people represents like overall identity that typically follows you throughout your whole life, regardless of your passions, regardless of your job or your career. And it's so easy to forget people's names. Like faces, there's not really like if you met someone and you forgot their face too, it would also just like be a gut punch. It's like, oh, my face is forgettable. I'm forgettable. And I think the I am forgettable relates to the name a lot. And so when someone remembers your name, it's like, remembering names is not something people do unless it's like a celebrity or a best friend or a love interest. Everyone remembers those names, but just a random person on the street, like what value, because most people are inherently selfish and that's not a bad thing, but everyone is kind of stuck in that. Yeah. What value in it, or is there in it for me to remember a homeless person's name? None. But to them, it could mean the world to them. And I didn't even realize it until Trev told me that. And then I was like, oh my God. That matters to everyone. At my community, when I first started it, I was forgetting everyone's names. And I would realize that I'd see someone the next week and I'd already seen them. And I'd be like, oh, remind me your name. And it just clicked that I remember every person that came up to me that had met me and forgot my name the next time. And I was like, dude, that sucks. That hurts that you literally didn't even care to remember.
Yeah, I think you could just relate to that in everyday social interactions if someone just forgets your name.
Yeah, especially if you've had like a good conversation and then you come back, oh, what was your name again? You're like, oh, you weren't very present. Yeah. You didn't really care.
It's like if I called you John and then called you Chris. It's like, oh, wait, no.
Yeah, yeah, it hurts. But it is beautiful when someone remembers your name. So like to hear that it had such an impact for Trevor made me realize with other homeless people, I was like, okay, I'm going to do my best. And we've seen other people.
So, he in the early months of the relationship, obviously he ghosted you guys quite a bit. So tell me about that. Why do you think he kept ghosting, and like what was the underlying motivation of that?
So he didn't think that he could actually change. He was like, yeah, these guys want to help, but like they don't know me. They don't know that like I'm hopeless and that nothing's really going to work. And for me, I was like, I don't know what it working out actually looks like, but my intuition and whatever God is was like, no, keep showing up. I've given up on people before. And for me, finally feeling not responsible for people in the streets and just showing up out of love and having a boundary, I was like, why would I give up? I can keep showing up to my boundary and saying, Trev, are you ready? Are you ready to change? And the moment he's ready to change, that's when change will actually happen. And there were a lot of moments where I was like, dude, should I give up? Like, this guy clearly wants to push me away, push both of us away. But there were so many divine moments that kept bringing us back. There's one, I was playing pickleball at this park, and he had ghosted me. I hadn't talked to him in like 2 weeks. Never played at that park. Still have never played at that park. My buddy randomly decided to go so far up north to play at this park in Salt Lake. I was like, okay, yeah, let's go. We're playing. It's typically a park known for addicts, like people that are in a pretty rough state when it comes to like opiates. And there's no one there, but there's one homeless person just sleeping by the pickleball courts. And Trev had never mentioned that he ever went to that park. And the more I'm playing, I just look over and I was like, dude, my intuition's telling me that that's Trev. And I was like, but what are the chances that that's actually Trevor? And I keep playing, but I keep looking. I was like, no, I swear that's Trev. And eventually he like rolls just a little bit. And I see this sliver of his yellow beanie that he always had on. And I was just like, I swear to God, that's Trev. Okay, I'm gonna go see. And I literally walk up and I see his face and I just like wake him up. And he was like, dude, what are you doing here? And I was like, dude, I'm playing pickleball. And I think for him, that was also a moment of like, I'm trying to push this guy away, and he's just showing up in these random moments when I would expect him to give up. And for him, it slowly was this realization that like, dude, we're not giving up.
Yeah.
The easy thing would be to give up, but to Chandler's point earlier, to create something beautiful and to do something spectacular with your life, you have to go beyond what is comfortable and easy. And for us, it's like showing up was hard at that moment. Like when he was ghosting us, it was like, dude, maybe we should give up. Maybe he doesn't want to actually change. Maybe he doesn't want our help. And maybe we're being delusional. But in my heart, and I know in Chandler's heart, it was like, no, dude, we've got to keep showing up. We've got to be persistent. We can't give up. Because like if I was Trev and I was on the street and I was trying to push someone away, the number one thing that I would wish would happen is someone would consistently show up, but have boundaries where I don't walk all over them. I can't use them. I can't take advantage of them, but they will consistently be there holding out a hand saying, hey, we're here when you're ready.
I think that's a very human thing. I think people can relate to in their own social interactions, because let's just say you have a dinner planned with a friend, and then they cancel it. And then, okay, all right, it was one time they canceled it. And then, okay, we scheduled dinner again. Okay, they canceled it again. And then, like, they just don't seem to be reaching out. I think that you only have the story that's in your own mind about why that's actually happening. Okay, they don't want to hang out with me. They don't like me. Like, there's something going on with me, or whatever. So, like, at what point did you realize that, like, his ghosting wasn't really about you or anything, but it was like about his own
lack of
shame
belief
and lack of belief, and it wasn't just like he's being flaky.
I don't know if I ever truly knew. It was kind of just believing what we were doing is like what we should have been doing, at least in my opinion, until I moved into the house with him, at least.
Yeah, for me, I would say I never took it personally.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this guy's on the street. We're just showing up as friends.
Yeah.
There's inherently nothing that we have done. Because for me, reaching out and caring about someone, I'll go to my grave doing that till the day I die. And I will be persistent until the day I die. I'm not like being too much. I'm not trying to get anything from him. This wasn't about me. So I was shamelessly like, no, dude, I will keep showing up because I know that what you're doing is what I used to do. And I saw a lot of myself in Trev, and like, I'll just push everyone away. And I did that my whole life. When I was struggling, it was like, don't talk to me. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to run away. And I don't want to be seen. And for me, I was like, the thing I needed most was someone to come see me and not judge me and not push me away and not think less of me and to also not shame me. And so every time I'd show up after he'd ghosted me, the first thing I'd always do is make sure he felt like, dude, I love you. I just want to know how you're doing. I don't care that you're not where you want to be. I don't care that you haven't gotten a job yet, or that you're still on the street, or that you're going through stuff, or you're feeling shame about your situation, or whatever it may be. And he wouldn't always open up about everything. And I was like, that doesn't matter to me either. Literally, all I care about is that I'm here and I'm making sure that you feel seen and cared about. Because if I do that enough, hopefully that will inspire you to believe that you actually could change. And like, even a seed of hope to me is the most powerful thing in the world to, I think, everyone. If you are in the darkest of dark and a seed of hope, it's like this little ball of light that's like, dude, that's hope. Something could happen. It's small and it might be far away, but it could.
A lot of people see, the homeless on the street, and they may not realize what it even took to like sit there with a sign asking for help.
The invisibility that they feel is one of the most difficult things for them, because imagine just walking around every day and no one even looking at you and no one acknowledging that you're human. Imagine how dehumanizing that is.
We met Chad and Jamie through Trev, and Jamie and Chad were telling me about Jamie flying a sign, and she was like, people say the worst things. She's like, people literally drive by and throw like change at me and be like, you're trash, like get off the street, like you're disgusting, you're a problem. Just like a lot of negative comments. And there are people that obviously don't treat her that way. But I think like flying a sign specifically, you have to be able to handle that people are going to view you in such a light. And it creates situations where you start to view yourself that way. Jamie, in my opinion, she carries so much love beneath all the pain. And she told us, we were driving in the car to go get lunch. She was like, I feel evil. She's like, this whole situation has made me, it feels like I have turned evil. And she's like, I know that I'm not that deep down, but I have to be. I like the way that I'm treated and the way that like everyone looks at me and the way that people on the street even treat each other. You have to essentially like be like an angry dog, always on the defense. And people would look at Jamie and be like, oh, she's this druggie that just like, is maybe on edge and this and this and this. We hung out with her and all I saw was just like fun and like little child that loved to dress people, because we went and we let her dress us at DI, which is like Savers or just a thrift store, and had the best time. And for me to think that she felt like she had to go wave a sign, whether it was for money, for food, or for drugs, and just the fact that people treated her that way, even if she used the money for drugs, I was like, the fact that people are saying things like that breaks my heart, because I don't think most humans out in society could ever go do that, could go pick up a sign and go sit on a corner and ask for money.
Why would people do that? Like throw change and act that way?
I think people view them as like bugs, like as a problem to be eliminated and like kind of shoved into a trash bag and just tossed out, where it's like, there is no solution. They're too far gone. Comments on our social medias. There was one the other day that was like, not all homeless people are good. They're horrors and this and this and this. Like, and I just really, after looking at comments and hearing people on the street stories, it's heartbreaking that people can look at another human and think that they are the scum of the earth and they're like literally not even human, that they're something that they're like an infestation that need to be terminated with like pest control.
I think something that is actually worth adding, Trevor actually talks about how he used to have similar views of homeless people, which I believe is very impactful to see, obviously, how he became homeless and how he now understands. I think a lot of people take something happening to them to understand it, to actually feel for someone in that situation. And you always hear the stuff, it's like, go get a job, go get a job. And everyone, and a lot of people in our comments as well are just like, well, did he get a job? Did he get a job? Housing first, housing first. People don't realize it's your internal belief system. We were talking about this today as well. It's like a lot of people talk about teaching a man to fish, but it's also teaching a man to believe that he can catch a fish. Genuinely. Because if we just move Trevor into a home, well, let's say a house by himself, he would still be that same person that believes he should be on the streets in that house. And how long would he be able to keep that house? How long would he be able to upkeep this, lifestyle not on the streets? He probably just would have ended up right back there. When people become homeless, they start becoming homeless 10 years before they're homeless, because it's the lack of the belief, it's the hurt, it's the vices, all of those things that lead up to that little thing finally making them snap. And then they're on the streets, and everyone goes, oh, that's why, because of the drugs. But no, it's not because of the drugs. It's because of the pain that they started doing the drugs. It's because all the lack of belief and the lack of self-love.
So eventually you guys reach a point. I guess you guys have had a relationship with Trevor for 3, 4, 5 months. And you reach a point where he has disappeared for so long that you genuinely didn't know if you were going to see him again. So take me into that exact period and kind of like what was going through your mind.
Yeah. So Christmas Eve or Christmas Day was the last time I saw him. Christmas Eve, I reached out to him and I was like, dude, no one should be sleeping on the street Christmas Eve and Christmas night. Like, at the very least, there should be a program to at least put people in a motel room, just from like a dignity standpoint of like, dude, there are kids opening presents that could have paid for at like 10 motel rooms for people on the streets, even just for a night, to make them feel like someone gives a shit on such a beautiful, magical, special night. And so I booked him a motel for Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, or for Christmas night. And then I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm going to go out on Christmas morning and do service, because most of my family's all married, have their own families. So I was either going to sit alone at my house on Christmas, and I got 0 presents, which I actually loved, or I could go out and do something that I actually loved. So I asked him, I was like, hey, do you want to go get breakfast in the morning? And do you want to go hand out food and chat? And he was like, yeah, dude, I'd love to. So I pick him up from the motel. We go to IHOP. We have a beautiful conversation. He talks about my dad, which to me was really beautiful. And he was like, dude, your dad would be so proud of you right now. Like, proud of who you've become. And honestly, like there's been a lot of conversations with Trev that have moved me in ways that I don't think will ever fully grasp. We go out. I had prepared a bunch of like lunch sacks. We go out and hand out food and have a great day. It was awesome. And then he disappears from the face of the planet, and I don't hear from him. And then January 2nd rolls around. I have a very transformative psilocybin mushroom journey in a dark room in my basement. And in that moment, that's when I was like, I need to go to Bali. A snowstorm hit like the next day, this massive snowstorm. And my mind immediately went to Trev, and I was like, I don't know if he's dead. Like, that snowstorm, based on where he sleeps, could have killed him, because no one's going to let him in the middle of the night. And it was freezing. Chan was about to go on a cruise, and a part of me was like, I would not be able to sit with myself anywhere if I knew Trev wasn't under a roof for the next little bit. And Bali, in a spiritual sense, Bali felt like a transformation for me that was going to come. I had no idea what I was actually going to do in Bali. I was like, I just need to book a one-way and go to Bali for an unknown amount of time. And I know that Trev needs to be in the house. And Chan is the one person I trust. And we had talked about it. And in my heart, I was like, I know Chan is going to say yes, so I'm not worried about that. It's Trev. Haven't heard from him. He could be dead. He could be in jail. I don't know where. He could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And I texted him multiple times. Nothing. So I called Chan. Hey, you want to move in with Trev? Like, I think this is his chance to finally start healing and change. And he's like, yeah, I'm down. And then I was like, okay, well, I need to go find Trev, because if we don't find him, then this obviously can't happen. And so my flight for Bali leaves the next day. And that evening, I was like, I'm driving up to Salt Lake and I'm finding Trev. Like, I'm literally not going to leave for Bali until I find him. And he'd always told me about the library he would go to. And he was like, yeah, they're really kind. They let me stay in there when it's cold. And my brain was like, okay, that's where he's at. So I drive to the library. I walk in and I look right, and he's the first person just sitting on a chair, like fast asleep. And I just walk up and poke him. I was like, hey, are you sitting here, sir? And he just is like, whoa, whoa. And I was like, dude, what's up? And he's like, Josh, like, I didn't expect to see you, man. Like, sorry, my phone got stolen. Like my bag, I was going to the bathroom at Trader Joe's. Someone stole my bag and I had to like steal it back from him. And for me, I was just like, don't worry about it. All that matters is we're here. And so I went and like we sat down on these like cushions, over where it was more quiet. And I was like, hey, I'm going to Bali for maybe like 2 months. I don't know, but I'm going to Bali tomorrow. And I was like, do you want to move into my home with Chan? And I told him, I was like, this is a chance for you to actually heal. And the moment I asked him, I could see like a shift in his eyes of like, it's happening. Like, this is the moment. The seed of hope has now become like this clearly visible thing that I can like grab and touch. And he was like, this is my opportunity. So he's like, yeah, I will. And to me, I was like, thank God. Because if you had said no, or if I'd never found you, I think this story would end. I don't think that we'd probably be in each other's lives. I think you would push me away or disappear entirely. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, I can drive you to my house right now. That way we can spend the night together. And then you can just stay here till Chan gets back from the trip, which was like 3-4 days later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I want to go see my kids, which now that we know more of the situation, he didn't go see his kids. I think he needed to process the fact that he was going to move in. So I took him to In-N-Out. We just chatted in the car, had some burgers, and like, it was a really beautiful conversation where I felt so much peace. And I was like, yeah, Trev, it's going to be great. Like, there's going to be hardships for sure. And there's going to be challenges, but this man in my heart is ready to change. And we care about Trev so deeply that I was like, with our support and our love and our friendship, I was like, let's see what can happen. So I dropped him off at the tracks, and then 3 days later, Chan picked him up. So,
I mean, there's people would probably say like there's still a massive difference between like caring about somebody, even the level that you had been pursuing him, and in your mind, it's probably like, oh, of course I'll do this, but like, how do you get from like I really really care about someone to I'm literally moving them into my house?
Honestly, the deeper the friendship got, the more that I was just like, dude, like Trev is starting to feel like a great friend. And it's funny because the more that you like see someone for who they really are, like see the kindness, see how much they care, get to know their personality, the more you'll start doing for them out of love. And there was even a moment prior to him moving in where he came over to our house and we did like a meditation and just chatted. And he opened up about like dating. He's like, dude, I want to be held again, man. Like, I don't even care about the sex. I just would love to like be cuddled by a woman again. He's like, I just don't think I'll ever experience that. Like, I don't deserve it. I don't even know if I'm attractive. Like, I don't have teeth and this and this and this. And I saw really just like the inner child in Trev. And for me, I think the part of me that was like, I want to move Trev in. Trev wasn't a homeless guy. And Trev in my mind never was like a homeless guy. He was just a guy that was severely misunderstood, had been through a lot and pushed people away, which reminded me of me and some of my siblings and even my dad. And I looked at Trev and I was like, if the roles were reversed, I would pray that Trev would give me a shot. I pray that Trev would trust me enough to be in his home, even if I might not believe that I deserved that, or I deserved love or a second chance, or I even deserved trust. I was like, I'm going to give trust freely. And it's easy to trust like Chan.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh yeah, loving your friends and loving and trusting them with like a car. That's easy. But like a homeless person, for me, I think it was also a test of, dude, how much can you trust someone? How much can you genuinely love them? Because it is easy to move Chan into my home. That was the easiest thing I've ever done and the best decision I've ever made. And Trev, it was like, okay, Josh, do you trust your intuition? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust Chandler?
I think we were talking about people questioning what we were doing. I think that was like the place where some people that I talked to about it drew the line. They're like, you're going to let him drive your cars? Like, that's ridiculous. At first, it just kind of sounded cool and everything, but why the heck would you let him do that? So it's just really funny the amount of trust that he really did just put. He's like, yeah, here's my keys. Good luck.
So he finally moves in, right? And you're there. So what were those like first few days like?
I'd say first thing was Trevor was very uncomfortable in the house. And so Josh wanted him to obviously move in initially without me. For one of the first things he said is like, I'm very grateful that I was not here without you, because I would have not been able to do anything. Like, he didn't want to touch anything in the pantry. He didn't want to do anything initially. So kind of just being able to talk with him and work with him to just be able to get comfortable, I think was a big one. A couple other things. One was his lack of belief as well. Just the whole beginning, he kept saying, and we've talked a little bit about this, but he keeps going, I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. And again, that just comes from the lack of belief. I was like, Trevor, like, you have to understand, like, this is going to be so difficult. And basically everyone from the streets would feel like they're not our guy, but we believe in you and we know you are. Like, I believe in you so much. So just that change of belief. And then Trevor always talks about it, but a lot of his life, he has found it easier to run. And when his fight or flight kicks in, which it was very much in those first days, there were some very difficult beginning days. His fight or flight was very much there. And there was genuinely, again, hearing him walk around all night, he kept saying, don't tell him where the train station is, because I'll be gone in the morning. I was like, okay, I won't. And obviously the videos added a just whole other form of pressure on there with him like sharing stuff immediately. So the first couple videos were serious. I was like, hey, Trevor, let's do like a funny like workout montage, like Rocky, like a skit kind of. Because I like to keep them lighthearted. I like to keep it fun. A lot of the other kindness influencer people, everything is just like some sob story, just really sad kind of pity, which again, it's great. They have their audience. They help people. Awesome. But I wanted to keep things more positive, more fun. And shooting that idea to Trevor, he's like, no. He's like, this isn't what I've been through is not funny. And I was like, understood. Like, that was one of our first conversations we had that was like, Trevor set this huge boundary. And I was like, okay. And obviously being a creative, you know, you just kind of shoot ideas everywhere, like kind of throw them out there and everything. And initially I was just like kind of throwing it out there as I normally would, but I was like, okay, that was the first time I feel like I was put to the test to truly have a difficult conversation with someone that was in fight or flight. And that's where I was really pushed in my ability to be able to show up for someone, because it turned into like a 3-4 hour conversation of Trevor just, basically saying, I'm not your guy. I can't do this. And me kind of shifting and coming from a angle of just listening and supporting and understanding, I think truly changed everything for me and Trevor. Because if I just came from a place of trying to give him advice or looking down, like he felt looked down upon and everything, this wouldn't have worked out. Truly. Really shifting that, it's like, okay, I'm not giving you advice. I'm not here to do anything. I'm just here to be here for you. Really shifted everything, and that is what helped keep us going and has truly shifted mine and Trevor's relationship into a forever brotherhood. Genuinely one of my best friends. It's
amazing because at this point in the story, I mean, there definitely are people who have seen your Instagram videos or watching this right now. Like, because what they see on the videos is like this guy, like dancing, which I don't even know how you got him like to do that.
He hates dancing.
Yeah,
Trevor hates dancing.
And so it's just like there seems to be so much that was happening behind the scenes that people are just like so unaware of.
Yeah,
a lot. Yeah, there's quite a bit.
And the fact that we have been able to get as much traction as we have without even telling basically anything is really crazy. And a lot of people kind of do talk about it. It's like, oh, it's, you know, you just stick this camera in Trevor's face and blah, blah, blah. But I've probably taken like 2 clips of Trevor in the last like 3 months or something. And he does have a lot of blocks with videos. And obviously it's why he's not here today, because he didn't want to come do this, which obviously we respect. But it's just been really cool to go through that process again with him. I've been scared to do videos as well. And just being there, it's like, hey, you know what? Like, if we both want to make this change in our life, this is what we have to do. Because again, our resources to help him were limited and everything. And obviously, which we'll get to later, is he understood the power of the videos once they got him teeth in his mouth.
Well, what were the moments that you realized, like, this is going to be much harder than I thought it was going to be?
I truly think the first time was that conversation, because things were pretty good like the first couple days. And then when I said that about the skit, full different tone. And like, I was like, oh, like I'm here. And I didn't see hardly anybody the first 2 weeks of living in the house. It was just me and Trevor, just alone in the house. And again, that's a lot for any relationship, even just like a romantic relationship or something. If you are only around one person for that long with not being around them and that like that intensely before, it's a lot. So just, you could tell in a lot of those conversations, the fight or flight kicked in. And I have so much respect for Trevor for being able to stick those conversations out, because they were very difficult. And he even says now, looking back on it, he's like, I just wanted to run. I wanted to run. And the fact that we could actually keep those hard conversations being something with an objective or just trying to understand each other, he said he didn't think that was possible before. So even showing him just the capability that he has to have that conversations and communicate those things, it's now still a growing thing, because there's a couple things he's held back from us that he's had a hard time, like felt shame or other things to talk about. But his willingness and his growth and just communication skills has grown so much in 5 months. Just giving someone a space to feel safe to talk about those things and just listening and not trying to give advice, not trying to do anything. Because again, that's our immediate just desire, is to try to help fix, right?
Yeah.
But again, he's not someone that just needs fixed, like we've talked about. He's someone that needs a friend.
A lot of people are like, oh, wow, that doesn't make any sense that, like, okay, he's been on the street and then you move him into a house, a nice, comfortable house now. And like, that he's so uncomfortable that he like won't, like, because people are like, oh, they'll probably like go in the pantry and like take everything in the pantry, and like he can't sleep, and like he like wants to run. And so like what's his like internal state while this is all going on in the first couple days? Yeah,
with the house, and I only can speak retroactively based on what we talked about. Specifically with the house and even the cars, I told him, I was like, dude, my cars are going to be sitting there. Like, you can drive both of them. The keys are there. If you need money for food or anything, like, let me know. And everything in the house, like, literally treat it like your house. But for Trev, in his mind was like, Josh is already doing enough letting me move in. Like, I can't believe he's trusting me to move in. I'm not going to, like, take advantage of Josh. And so he was always very aware of, like, well, I don't want to do anything that Josh hasn't specifically, like, told me. And even the cars, when I wasn't there, he was like, I'm not driving the cars, because the fear of like, what if I crashed his car, or
scary,
this or that. And to me, I was like, dude, even if you crash the car, I'll deal with the consequences later, but like, just drive. If you need to drive it. Obviously grateful he didn't. He would have found the train station and he probably would have left. So in hindsight, all of that worked out, but there was a massive underlying fear of like, I'm going to overstep and take too much and kind of like disappoint Josh, and he'll be mad at me if I use him for more than what I almost deserve. And I think a part of him barely even felt like he deserved to be in the home, because it's a nice home. And I think he was so weary of like touching anything or doing anything. And he obviously didn't know me well enough, because for me, I'm like, dude, you could bash a hole in my wall and that's not a big deal. Like, stuff and things don't matter to me. But I don't think Trev fully understood that at that time. And I was just like, dude, yeah, just go ahead. Like, whatever you need to actually start coming back to yourself, run with it, take it. Like, the food in the pantry, whatever it is, just please.
Yeah, I can't imagine the average person, the things that you just take for granted, like sleeping, eating, I don't know, even exercising, like for someone on the street, all of those things are probably so incredibly dysregulated. So where was he at with like sleep and food, like as soon as he moved into the house?
I mean, everything was just rough. Like we talked about, he could not sleep. He stayed up all night, and then we were trying to, because there's a lot of stuff we wanted to work on initially in the morning, kind of work on just maybe like affirmations or daily intentions or things like that. And then I'd wake up and then he'd be asleep, or because he didn't sleep all night. And then again, eating, his digestive system was completely messed up. Like there's just every single thing. It's like, oh, this is going to take longer than I thought. And also at that time, I'll just go on all in sharing this. Sorry, Trevor, in advance. So he didn't eat a lot of food on the streets, and he just started eating, and he got super backed up. He was super constipated. This is a couple days in. There was a couple days that he was in the bathroom the whole day. And he's like, Chandler, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't go to the bathroom. I can't go to the bathroom. And part of his morning, I was like, dude, is he doing drugs in like the bathroom? Like, is there something I didn't know about Trevor? I put him on chia seeds, actually, super high in fiber. And he started being able to go to the bathroom again. That helped his digestive system. And he was, in fact, not doing drugs in the bathroom for like 5 hours a day. So
it seems like, from what he told me, his teeth were a big part of why he didn't like the video. So Can you tell me about that?
So we did a golf video, and he actually loved it. He had a lot of fun. Before that, he hadn't been golfing since he'd been homeless. And we took him to Topgolf. And he had a great day. And I was like, dude, I just edited this fun video of all this, like having a great time. And he's like, was a lot more receptive of seeing it, because a lot of the stuff he didn't want to see. And he's like, great, yeah, I'll watch it. And he said watching it broke his heart, because he just saw him and all he saw was no teeth. And he saw him smiling with just, like not being able to smile because he had no teeth. So it was very difficult to see himself that way, and I think it was a large representation of his life not going how he wanted it to. So
I mean, I'm so curious. You were like not posting on social media at all before this, correct? Or you were a little?
I posted once, and we had full intentions of doing so, but I've had so many blocks, and it didn't feel like the right time until we moved Trevor in.
So you basically didn't have a following at all?
I had zero.
Okay, so you had zero. All right, so you start posting these videos in January. I mean, I just feel like this is such like a crazy part of the story. Like, first video goes viral or something. Like what is?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You keep.
Yeah. What's going through your mind? Like, and how did that manifest?
So this is actually really awesome,
because this just doesn't happen. I mean, like for 99% of creators, like this just does not happen.
So first post was just me kind of talking a little bit about the mission. No one knew I had the account. Second post was the video of me moving Trevor in, and I'd posted on my personal Instagram, and a lot of my friends saw it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Just kind of had a couple people like, oh, this is great. It wasn't until the fourth post, I believe, which is really cool because, man, just the divinity that is involved with redirection is so amazing. So this is right after the conversation that I had with Josh and Trevor, and we're like, okay, we're just going to take a step back. We're going to put together some clips, and we're going to make these videos. And one of my daily intentions was do it even if it's not perfect. And the video that I posted, I did not like. I did take it from another video it's really funny. I took it from a different niche. It was this guy refurbishing this furniture. I used the same song. I used like the same kind of style and everything, but it was obviously through kind of lifestyle of him rebuilding that furniture. I did it of the lifestyle of mine and Trevor's day. I didn't love the video. I think a lot of the clips were kind of rough. I was like, whatever. I didn't even love the song, but I was like, let's do it. Cause that was my daily intention. So the redirection with kind of sticking it out and just doing it, that was our first big video, and it hit. And I remember texting Josh, and it was at 40,000 views. I was like, Josh, this is awesome. We actually just hit. And then now it's at 8 million, like that one. So just really cool that when you see things through, and even when, again, Trevor wasn't even showing up for the videos that time. He's like, no, I was just able to get a clip here of him like journaling or doing some stretching or something. That's really all I had to work with. But when you just see it through anyways, even when there are those blocks, and even just when you're able to do that redirection, like I truly believe like that's when things will work out. You just have to keep pushing. And those first, I always forget, what was it 4 weeks just me and Trevor were together?
Yeah.
For those first 4 weeks were just that to the extreme, and they really increased my capability for all of the responsibility that we do want in the future to help people. And I really got to feel how it was to be put to the test.
Yeah. So what's amazing about this entire story is like, what I'm taking at this point is there's just like so much commitment to the process, like so much commitment to like him moving in, commitment to each other. The videos like seem like they're a mess, but they're blowing up, and like that's just like crazy. And it's like, and then you come back in and you move back into the house, and I think that this is where like everything is just comes together. So tell me about who reached out like in early February and what they told you because of the videos.
Yes. So Dr. Ari basically reached out to us and said that he wanted to do Trevor's implants for free, which was crazy because that was something I was like, dude, I don't know how we're going to do this. Like raising money for a van is one thing, but implants are like $70,000. Genuinely such a blessing. But I kind of also like, I had to check out all of Ari's pages before. I was like, is this guy legit? Like he wants to come out to New York and do this. And why
did he say it was because he saw the videos and he wants to do it for free?
So Ari reached out to me and he said, hey man, I saw your posts. Any chance I can help out with some free dental care? I do full mouth reconstruction cases. How is his oral health? That's literally it. And I just texted back him with a bunch of questions, and he sent me a bunch of photos of work that he does. And Ari is intense. Like he is very good at what he does. He has mastered his craft. And he's like, yeah, I can do anything in a day. Just give me a day, get it done. Like whatever his mouth looks like we can get it done, basically. And we were just like, okay, which is really crazy. And we've had several other dentists reach out to us as well since that want to help. So it's really cool to see that when you are doing something that people love, people really do want to help. And that goes back to the attention thing, is like, if you can get people's attention, everyone wants to be part of it. Everyone wants to help. Everyone really does that, have desire, but people just like need to see someone actively doing something before. So yeah, I mean, the significance of that is like, just strikes me so deeply because like his teeth are like his biggest insecurity.
Yeah.
And then you have a guy reach out.
That was his biggest block for, I mean, basically everything, right? If without teeth, he wouldn't have been dating. Without teeth, he wouldn't have been showing up for the videos. Without teeth, like even when we had people over at our house, like you could tell Trevor he felt small, he felt embarrassed, which shifting to post teeth, completely different person, huge energy. And a lot of the people he brought over, it's like, wow, Trevor's energy is like big. It's awesome. And we're like, yeah, it is. Cause I mean, we could see that in him the whole time, but I think it really took the teeth for him to see that himself.
Now, as all this is happening, or like around the same, like a few days later, like someone else reaches out. And so what happens there?
Yeah. So his oldest son, Sky, reaches out to Chan.
I was going on a trip. So I left on my trip, and then I sent the screenshot to Josh and said, hey, look who just reached out to me. And then he experienced the rest.
So then the day before Valentine's, Sky reaches out to me, and I knew he had reached out to Chan. He reached out to me, says pretty much the same thing. I can read the message.
Yeah.
He says, please have Chandler check his DMs. Trevor is my father. I've been unable to contact him for over a year. I'm beyond grateful for what you guys are doing to help him. And then he gave me his personal and work number and said, if I could speak to him, that would mean the world to me. And I was sitting downstairs, and I was like, hey, now's the time to bring this up. And Trev was just sitting down there because he slept down on my massive couch for a while because it was comfy. and we didn't have like an extra bed. And I just tell him, I was like, Sky reached out, and I could see him be like, oh, and I told him, I was like, he gave me his number. He wants you to reach out to him. And I could see him just processing, like, okay, like now is the time for me to like talk to my kids. And when we first met him, he rarely talked about his kids, because little did we know he was feeling the most shame about this situation with his kids. And we had no clue. So obviously in hindsight, it actually seems like the most obvious thing, that his kids would carry the most weight, good and bad. And so I could tell he was like mentally just preparing, because even leading up to that, he was like, yeah, I don't really like deserve love from my kids. Like, yeah. And we were like, I don't understand why fully, but he just kept on kind of alluding to like, my kids, you know, that's too much. I'm not going to talk about that. But it always was like, I don't think my kids would want me back in their life. So Sky messages me that. And then the next day is Valentine's Day. And me and Trev do a date night. And we just like get some steak, avocados, cook, and eat dinner and just chat about a lot. And he opens up about self-hatred. He's like, I've never told anyone, like genuinely ever, that I hate myself. And he was just like, this is the time for me to just admit that like I hate myself. And that led to all the shame and everything that he kind of was experiencing. And it was a really beautiful night. And then the next morning, he was like, I'm going to call Sky. And before he calls Sky, he opens up to me about probably numero uno as to why he is homeless. And he starts talking about his dad. And his dad died of a brain tumor and got on chemo. And for him, he took care of his dad as his dad was kind of whittling away from chemo. And he watched what chemo did to him. And he said it was the hardest experience of his life, because his dad, he played pro football. To Trev, he was the strongest man Trev ever knew. Like just an absolute tank of a man, mentally, physically. And he watched chemo take everything from him. And what we never knew is right before Trev became homeless, he'd gotten laid off from his job in the oil fields in North Dakota like a year prior. So we're like, okay, clearly something happened in between then. And he starts telling me that he started to get really sick. And his skin was turning yellow. He was shitting blood. He was vomiting all the time. And his family was like, dude, you need to go get some blood work done. He goes and gets blood work done. And it didn't state that he had stomach cancer, but it was alluding like, we need to do more.
There's a lot that's wrong. Yeah.
And his whole family was like, you need to get on chemo. And to Trev, his experience of watching his father die on chemo was the worst thing he's ever experienced. And he was like, I am never, ever letting my kids watch me die. If I get on chemo, I will whittle away and die like dad, and my kids will not witness that. So he pretty much told his family that he wasn't going to do it and walked straight out onto the street to just die. He was waiting to just pass away on the street so that his kids wouldn't have to watch. And he's telling me this, and I'm just in shock, because I'm like, dude, that is the saddest thing. And also the most beautiful thing, that you are here now. I started to realize like the power of even just the miracle of everything that had happened leading up to that moment, for Trev to even be in our home and ready to talk to his kid for the first time. So he goes downstairs and he calls Sky, and they talk for 2 hours, and he comes up and he starts telling me about the conversation, and both of us just start crying, because I lost my dad to suicide 3 years ago, and to Sky had lost his dad. And Sky tells Trev, he's like, Dad, I was at work, and mind you, he's like, I've looked for you and tried to find you, and I couldn't. And I genuinely just assumed that you had died, because the last Sky had seen of him was he's severely sick, and then he's gone.
Disappear.
And he's like, so for me to receive a video, I think it was from his cousin, while I'm at work, he's like, I just dropped to my knees and started bawling, and was like, my dad's alive and healthy. And he's like, he's obviously with these two guys, but he is healthy. And prior to the conversation, I was like, Trev, your kids are always going to want to love you. Every child inherently will always want to love their parent. I think it's just built into us. And he was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And Sky was like, Dad, I'll always love you. Like, I'll always want to love you. And it was a very surreal experience because I got to, from my shoes, look at Sky and the situation with Trev and be like, dude, if I saw a video of my dad, because my dad went into the mountains and took his life. If I saw a video of him and we hadn't found his body and I just saw a video of him in some place with two guys healthy, I honestly don't even know what I would do. I'd cry is number one, but it would feel like such a miracle to me. And so, yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful conversation. Probably the most bonding moment for me and Trev that we've had so far. And the only problem with that entire moment and that day was later that day, we had to tell him about the flight to New York the next morning that we were surprising him with.
With the teeth.
With the teeth. And we thought surprising him would be a good idea. And with all of the emotion that came up, him opening up about the self-hatred, him telling us about his sickness, and then Sky and him reuniting and talking and just like so much good. Forgot to process that there could be a situation where there is so much overwhelming good that it's too much. And we learned that later that night.
I can just tell this from my perspective. So I knew we had to tell Trevor, and Josh was out with some friends, and it was getting later, and it was getting later, and it was getting later. I was like, dude, we have to leave at like 7 a.m. tomorrow. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to bed. Like, I need to go to bed to be ready for the next day. And I'm about to fall asleep, and then all of a sudden I have no lock on my door. So Josh opens. Chandler, Trevor's up. Let's go tell him. And I was just like, holy cow. Because I was half asleep. I was super just delirious. And I sit down there, and I'm kind of just standing there, and me, Trevor, and Josh are all just standing, kind of like how we are right now, except we're standing just in the doorway. And Josh goes, "You want to break the news, Chandler?" And I was kind of like, what I was thinking was, okay, we wanted him basically to just trust us and say, okay, we're taking you somewhere, just trust us. That's what we wanted to do. Not even know we were getting teeth or anything. Because again, we knew how bad he wanted teeth. So that's how I was playing out in our head. Like, we're not even going to tell him where we're going. We're just going to tell him basically to get ready. So the first thing I said was, Trevor, pack your bags. And he kind of just looked at us. It was like, no. And I kind of look at Josh and I was like, we want you to trust us. Just pack your bags. He's like, no, I'm not. And again, the tone started getting more serious. And I, again, still half asleep. And I was just like, oh gosh, like, what do we say? Retroactively, though, Trevor a lot of people take it as he thought, and this is what we actually thought in the moment. He thought that we were telling him to obviously pack his bags to go out to the streets.
Oh my God.
Luckily, that's not what he was thinking. He was thinking we were going to send him to Vietnam, which is a little better, which sounds crazy saying it right here. But what we talked about with him was the possibility of going just to Vietnam and like kind of finding himself and just again, living on a beach, being present and just kind of reworking some stuff. Obviously that didn't happen. That was a possibility. So that's what Trevor thought we were telling him to pack his bags because we were sending him to Vietnam. And he's like, no way, I'm not doing that. And again, the fight or flight started to kick in and everything. And I was like, well, should we just tell him, Josh? He's like, yeah. Well, we're going to New York because we have a surgeon that reached out to us that is going to do your implants for free. And our flight's tomorrow at 7. And Trevor's eyes were just still big. And he's like, I can't. And then I'll let Josh kind of finish what happened the rest of this. And again, we had a flight spot. He was ready, had the day all set aside. Like everything was fully going through. And then Trev just threw that. And we're like, dude, we just messed up. You know, what was it? Was it like 1 a.m.?
Yeah.
It's like 1 a.m.
And I'd book flights. And I'm not made of money. I'm just willing to risk a lot for situations. I'm like, I'll look back on my deathbed and be like, dude, I'm glad I spent that money. I spent probably like $4,000 it was a flight for Chan's buddy Garrett, who I just met, but Trevor liked him. My cousin Kara, who Trevor loves, and our friend Amy, who works with us at Good Intentions. I was like, I'm going to fly everyone that means something to Trevor to really just like give him a supporting cast.
Yeah.
So when he was like, no, my brain was just like, I just spent a lot of money, but like, I'm not going to make Trev go. I can't force him to go, first off, but I'm not going to like make him feel bad for not going because of the money. So he's just like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And he goes downstairs, and me and Chan walk downstairs. And I was like, hey man, regardless of the money, regardless of anything else, like, you do not have to go unless you feel ready. Even if that means not going, like, I might stay home. And I was just thinking through, like, what would I do? Do I go to New York still? I'm not wasting the Airbnb and the flight, but then I'd leave Trevor here. So I tell him, I was like, just think on it. Like, tonight, just think on it and let me know in the morning. And he's like, okay, I'll think on it. I go up to my bed. He stays on the couch, and both of us say a prayer. And I was just like, please, like, God, just let him change his mind. Just because in my heart, and I think Trev knew it too, and I know Chandler knew it, teeth was going to be the moment where everything changed.
It's a catalyst.
Like,
yeah.
Before, we had a music night at our house, and people came over, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm stoked to meet people. Didn't talk to like anyone. And the number one thing was, my identity essentially is that homeless, toothless guy. And I was like, the moment that you have teeth, you're going to start viewing yourself not as the homeless, toothless guy, and people will stop seeing you as that. And I knew that, so I was just like, dude, I really hope, because like the sooner we get him teeth, the sooner everything really transforms. So I say a prayer, I go to sleep, and I have a dream. And in my dream, this like Trevor comes up really off energy, dark, decrepit teeth, like rotten. And then there was just like this switch, and he has brand new teeth, and his energy is like this bright light. And he just looks at me, and he's like, I'll go. And in my soul, I was like, oh, he's going. So I wake up, and I was like, okay, I'm awake. So obviously he could still not go, but I feel like there's something divine about that dream. I feel like he's going to go. So it's 6 a.m. I go downstairs. It's dark outside. He's overlooking the lake, just like pondering. And I can tell everything is just weighing on him. And I was just like, Trev, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm okay. And the way he said it sounded like he was still struggling. I was like, oh, I don't think he's going to say yes. So I asked him, I was like, do you want to go? And he just looks at me, and he's like, I'll go. And after that, I was like, okay, this is happening. You actually need to go pack your bags. So he starts to go pack his bags. He's like, by the way, I have some warrants out for my arrest. So I don't know if that's going to like cause any complications.
Holy cow.
And he was like, well, they're for camping tickets. And I was like, okay, I don't know if you can even like get arrested for that or not. But there was a part of me that was so anxious. I felt like a parent trying to like make sure all my kids got on the plane. And we get to the airport, and
I'm behind him in TSA, just hoping, just praying that he made it through, and he did. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
So made it to New York, and
everything was awesome.
Yeah, the surgeons were awesome. Oral and Mitch, or not Oral and Mitch,
Ari
and Mitch. Super great guys. They were like, we love what you're doing. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Keep posting. Like, just the authenticity that we received from them, and like the love and the kindness and the support they even showed Trev was massive. On the phone call a week prior when we were talking to Ari, he was like, yeah, you guys dance in your videos. He's like, I'm not dancing.
I'm not doing that. We said, okay, we'll see.
So surgery happens. It was awesome. Like, it was a lot for Trev, but you could tell he was stoked. They told him, they're like, do not smoke. Well, you're like, after this surgery, it could infect it. And he was like, dude, I'm so like anxious. I need to. So I was like, Trev, you can do whatever you want. I trust that you're going to live with the consequences of whatever. Yeah. And made it through the surgery. Like, didn't really get to explore New York, but we kind of just like, we would go home every night, because it was a 2-day process.
2 or 3 days, maybe 3.
Yeah. And so we just got to, for the most part, like stay at the surgeon's office and like go in and chat with Trev, and really just chat with the surgeons about like
experience,
how they were expecting things. And when the surgery ended, like Trev's face just looking into the mirror for the first time. And that for a lot of people that get teeth, it's the same way. Just blown away with just really just joy of like, I'm a new person.
I'm myself again.
Yeah. Like I can look at my own face. Cause I mean, if you don't have teeth, I'm assuming you don't look in mirrors. You're assuming you don't like looking at photos. You don't like looking at videos. So to even look in a mirror for the first time and like start to see Trev again is just such a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And Ari, he was like, yeah, I don't do emotions. And Trev was like, no, thank you. Like,
give me a hug.
You have like changed my life. And then we got Ari to dance. Even though he said he wasn't going to. We got him to dance.
Yeah, I think just the fact like it changes your whole face structure. It's not even just the teeth, it's how you sound. Because when you don't have teeth, your whole face is caved in. And
I noticed that in the video.
Yeah, so it brought Trevor back to himself, which is what he was wanting. So just so beautiful to kind of bring that back around.
Incredible outcomes from all this. I would think that like you guys couldn't have possibly imagined like this was gonna how it was gonna turn out in like December, early January. Here you are. I mean, how did you feel after all this stuff happened?
This year has just been bliss, I would say. Just the change that we have all experienced in our life, and that's thanks to all of us. It took us all to just keep showing up, and I could not be more grateful for how it's all went. And if we just keep looking at how much change we have made in ourselves and each other in 6 months increments, it's only gonna, exponentially grow, and we're just super excited for like what's to come as well. So
what did it teach you about like the visibility and conviction to film the experience?
It reinforced it. I think the biggest person that it changed the opinion of though was Trevor, because Trevor's never been a social media guy, and again, he had no idea why we were doing the videos. He had no idea just what any of the purpose was and just what they were even doing. And he thought, it's like, why are we just posting videos of us dancing? Because we'd always dance together. He's like, this is stupid. I was like, Trevor, just, you got to understand, like, bear with me. But when obviously he got his teeth, I really think that was like the big thing. When he saw those teeth in his mouth from us doing the videos, he's like, okay, I totally understand the power that what we are doing has. And I mean, even in the future, like for me, like Ari wants to, if we're helping someone else, Ari wants to help again. He's like, let me know anytime.
That's crazy.
I will help again. And we loved working with them. So we just know that as we grow this, we are going to be connected with people who want to help make change, and we're going to meet the right people. So just very grateful, again, just seeing the divinity and everything to who we've been connected with and the timing that we've been connected with all of them, to how it's all worked out.
Now, the thing I don't want to oversimplify is like, this is like a neat internet miracle. Because like it literally feels like the story feels miraculous in many ways, and it is miraculous in many ways. On the practical end, why do you feel like if someone's thinking about how to help somebody else, like why do you think this worked? And like what needed to be in place to deliver this sort of outcome and progress with someone?
Honestly, I feel like the thing that made it work compared to even for me trying to help other people came down to not trying to fix him, because we didn't view him as broken. Trev wasn't this broken, homeless, pitiful person. Trev was just someone that's like, this guy is down on his luck. He wasn't given the tools or perspectives to like process emotions and certain belief systems. He didn't have friendship. He didn't have support. And people clearly didn't know how to show up for him in the ways that he actually needed. And for me, it's just, if we were to show up as friends and we really just show up and lead by example as to like, oh, this is how I live my life. This is how I view that thing. Not saying you should view that thing that way or you should do that thing that way. It's just, I'm here to support, understand, and maybe offer new perspective. You do not have to take it if it doesn't resonate. But this is just how I view it. And for me, that's been a massive perspective shift with cigarettes, with shame, with even like his clothing and the bag that he had we talked about this multiple times, and we actually talked about it yesterday. The clothing that he wore as a homeless person, for a second, we were like, dude, we should do a bonfire and burn it. And then he was like, yeah, that's right. I just like hate that version of me. I want to get rid of it. And once we kind of understood that, I was like, dude, let's change perspective. That version of you got you here. Those like that clothing kept you warm in a time when you were freezing, and it helped you survive. Cigarettes, you have so much shame. Oh, I can't be a good dad if I smoke. I need to quit. I need to quit. I hate that I keep doing it. And it's like, dude, cigarettes helped you cope with the pain of being on the street, and it kept you alive long enough where you can now slowly get rid of them, but from a place of love. Like, look at them as if they were a crutch that helped you to walk again. And now that you can walk again, now you can lay that down.
Yeah.
Adding on that with the cigarettes, I think that was a really just big perspective shift for Trevor, and it was just a great example of the shame that Trevor felt and how he dealt with it, because he initially, and we should have touched on this a bit ago, but I guess we just went over it. Trevor smoking cigarettes, as long as he was smoking cigarettes, he felt like he couldn't be a dad. He felt like as long as he had that habit, he could not show up as a father. And what Josh was just talking about is like taking that from a new perspective with him and saying like, hey, these have helped you in a lot of situations that you like might have not been able to make it through. And there are so many people that are great fathers that smoke cigarettes. Like, you just need to show up for your kids, because like we've talked about, they will always love you. Mm-hmm. And showing up for them is the biggest deal. And there's been a lot of times that Trevor's been like, hey, I'm going to stop smoking by my birthday, or I'm going to cold turkey. And it's like, Trevor, no. Like, I know there's going to be a lot of really hard times that you're going to go through, and you're going to have crazy desire to do so, and you're just going to shame yourself. Like, let's try to put in like less nicotine or things like that, but cold turkeying it is going to send you down a shame spiral. And every time he's kind of wanted to cold turkey, and he's been like, yeah, I'm thankful that I didn't, because I have had the desire. So we're just trying to obviously take it from the direction of just sitting with himself, because it is all the anxiety and everything he experiences. So we're not really focusing on the cigarettes, but more focusing on how, again, he feels internally.
Yeah. One of the things I learned, which I thought was pretty profound, is, we've had trauma therapists on this podcast, and one of them was bringing up this idea of the behaviors that people hate. He called them survival strategies. So for example, he said, maybe he'll be treating someone who has like a drinking problem or something like that. And usually they have like a ton of shame around that behavior. And the only way they can really get past that behavior into something maybe that's more productive and that will help them progress further in their lives is by stopping hating that. And when I spoke to Trevor, I'm like, there's like so much trauma in his story, that, I mean, you could look at someone drinking or smoking cigarettes. Oh, that's so dysfunctional, or doing drugs. That's so dysfunctional. They're so drug addicts. And it's like, but what is that actually serving in their life? What function is that actually serving? And I think that potentially maybe the viewer is thinking like, okay, well, what is it as an outsider? What's the difference between like loving someone and like enabling them? Because some people won't even approach somebody on the street, because like, oh, they're just going to take my money and they're going to do blah, 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 blah to get drugs. And like, they might, I don't know. But so like, what would you guys say about that dynamic?
I would say that love, like in my experience, love is unconditional, which people think that conditions are the same things as boundaries, and they're not. To me, love has boundaries, not conditions. So my love for Trevor is not dependent. There's no condition as to like, if he doesn't smoke, then I'll love him more. If he doesn't ghost me, then I'll love him more. I will set a boundary and say, hey, I'm going to love you, but I'm not going to enable you to do certain things that I know are not serving you. So I will have a boundary and say, hey, this is for the good of both of us. I will hold this. There will be consequences, but I'm going to ensure that I will always still show up and not judge you. I will love you. I will try to understand you. And I will always have compassion for your experience. The moment I come at any of his experience with judgment, that's when I'm putting a condition on our friendship, saying, oh, well, yeah, I'm your friend unless you're smoking cigarettes. And it's like, that's not a boundary. That's a condition. Like if I told him, hey, no hard liquor in my house, he would respect it. That's a boundary. That's not me not loving him. Yeah. That's me saying like, hey, there is like a container that I want to create in my home. And if you respect it, we're going to grow together. I'm still going to love you anyway. Even if you bring, like he brought home like a drink and I was like, Trev, I'm still going to love you, but I will let you know that that's just not something I want in my home. And yeah, I think everyone thinks that if they love someone, that they will just enable everything. And I used to enable people walking all over me.
Yeah.
And saying and doing whatever. And I tried to help this lady once with a Down syndrome son. And I was trying everything I could. And I was enabling her. And eventually she turned on me and was like, you've done nothing for me and this and that. And I finally just put up a boundary. I was like, I want to help, but I won't let you talk to me like that. So as long as you're talking to me like that, I will not try. I won't be doing these things, but I will let you know that I don't hate you. I don't look down on you. I'm not going to push you away. But if I put up a boundary, you're going to push me away. And that's what she did. She pushed me away. And the boundaries that we've put up with Trev, he hasn't pushed away. He's like sat and communicated through them.
I think that's the biggest thing, as well as just communication with all of that. So Trevor, Josh, and I try to have a meeting like once to a couple times a week. And this has actually helped me learn a lot how I want to show up in all of my relationships. But we all just we just come forward and talk about the hard things we're going through. But then we also talk about like how we're all showing up for each other and how we'd appreciate if like other person could show up for us in this way, or just anything, just completely honest communication. And it's genuinely helped all of us so much, because now we get to interact with the confidence that we're all showing up, like how we have communicated that we were, or communicated we wanted to show up for each other and everything. So even like funnily enough, in a romantic relationship in the future, it has taught me a lot how I want to show up for a partner, how I want to show up for my family, or other things like that, because so many people just assume and don't communicate. And yeah, you have these boundaries and stuff, but then everyone's still like assuming so much. So just so much communication has helped us.
I think it's interesting the point you brought up, because, you guys are doing this work. You've met many other people along the way. And one thing I think people might be thinking is like, okay, they clicked into the video and then they started with like, oh, is this crazy homeless man's moving in the house? But now it's like, okay, you got like a good one with Trevor. Like, okay, you got a good one. So tell me about that in context of the other people you've met and how the difficulty weighs up with that.
So it's really funny, because I think everyone just has things that are difficult, and everyone has strengths and weaknesses and whatever it is. Josh and I actually had this conversation like a week ago. So we've been going out with some new people. Chad and Jamie are two of them. Ronnie was another one that we've just kind of taken out in the past couple weeks. From a video perspective, they do not care. Like when we were out with Chad and Jamie, we just started videoing, and Chad just started videoing us back and laughing and doing funny stuff, and they just were carefree, and we're like, wow, like Trevor was expert mode with this, because it was so hard to even get him to want to do any of that. And he very much is like, if I don't want to do this, I will not be doing it, I guess, besides the dancing somehow. So there's a lot of people that have kind of showed up in completely different energies and everything. It's like, dude, these people would also be great to work with. And there's already been a lot of things that we have seen with these people, that they're a lot quicker to open up. They're a lot more it's a lot easier for them to show up on the camera and things like that. It's like, wow, there's a lot of very difficult things with Trevor, and a lot of shame and different things that he felt. But I also know there's a lot of things we'd unravel with those people that would be difficult as well. And it's just going to be from person to person. But I think the one thing is, like, if someone wants to change, I believe that they can. If they don't want to change, you have to wait until they have that desire. So I don't think truly do not believe it's a fluke. And all the stuff we had to go through with Trevor as well, there's been stuff that has been immensely difficult. I just have not been good at documenting the difficulties, I guess.
Yeah. Even the whole asking for help thing. Like, we met Chad and Jamie through Trev, and day 2 after we hung out with Chad and Jamie, they're like, hey, they texted me. They're like, hey, we don't have food. Like, we had a food card. We don't have any money to get us by until like the 15th. They're like, we're wondering if you could just bring us some food. They weren't asking for money. They weren't asking for drugs. And if someone's genuinely asking for something that they cannot leverage into drugs or relay into drugs, I'm like, dude, yeah. So I was up in the area, bought them some groceries from the grocery store, and went over to their place. And they have like a tent hidden in the forest that they showed us. They have never showed anyone else. And they were just so appreciative. And they're like, dude, we love you guys. And even through text, like Chad, he texted me, he's like, dude, I love you guys. Thank you for everything. And I just sat there and I was like, wow. Like, and Trev has expressed so much love through text even. Like, there's text that if I scrolled back, that genuinely changed my life. But to Chan's point, getting Trev to like communicate, getting him to ask for help, getting him to show up. A lot of people are like, oh, he doesn't have any like drug addictions. And it's like, those were in a way just as hard as dealing with an addiction. Like, if we were to move someone with addiction into the home, we wouldn't have done it that way. We would have taken a different route, which included detoxing and other things. But it might have been way easier to communicate with those people.
Yeah.
Way easier for them to ask for help because they're not struggling with like, oh, well, no, dude, there's so much shame asking for help. Some of those people are like, no, I'll gladly ask for help. I need help. I'm struggling. And we've met homeless people who are very, very honest about what they need. They're like, dude, I need friendship. I would love to hang out. And Trev would always kind of just like, I don't know. No. Like, it's funny because Trev had no teeth when we met him, but it was like prying teeth, pulling teeth, whatever the phrase is. Like, Trev had his difficulties that challenged us.
Yeah. I can't help but I think one thing I don't want to miss is that a lot of people could listen to the story and look at it in a way of like more of like a charity case of like, oh wow, you helped that guy. That's so nice. But it seemed like throughout this whole process, like there was so much that you guys got out of it. And it was such a friendship that was formed for you guys. And so can you talk about that? Because there's one dynamic where it's like a power differential, where it's like you are looking down on the homeless person and you are the savior coming in and helping them, versus it kind of being a collaborative two-way relationship that's happening.
I think the biggest thing and how I frame it for Trevor as well is just like when he's going through something difficult, whether it is shame or all of the things, they're feelings that we all feel. And that's what we were kind of talking about with homelessness and everything. It's not some crazy thing because all of the emotions that they feel are emotions that every single one of us in this room do as well. So as Trevor's been going through shame or as Trevor's been going through anxiety and stuff, I have been as well. And obviously we do in different ways and from different situations, but like we're in it together. I have needed to grow every ounce as much as Trevor has. And that's what I will keep doing the rest of my life. So I know that whoever we end up helping, I will still be growing with them. And there'll always be new situations that I will need to grow with them. And coming from an angle where you're like, hey, like I'm down here with you, like I'm boots on the ground with you, that changes everything. Because they're like, oh yeah, like these are my friends, these are my people. They're not people who are, again, giving me advice and just telling me what to do, because we're all learning. And we always, like, till the day we die, we will be learning with these people that we want to help. And I truly believe that everyone has the ability to teach us something new about ourselves. You can learn something from everyone. And I've learned so much about myself from Trevor. So, yeah.
And for me, honestly, I mean, I've learned a lot from Trev and Chan. From Trev specifically, after losing my dad never told me he was proud of me. Like, I could do anything and it would all be not enough. There was a basketball championship, down 3, didn't have the ball. They're inbounding. I stole the ball, forced a jump ball, and then hit the game-tying 3. We won in overtime. My dad never said anything, and he was the coach. Just never patted me on the back, never told me that I was enough. And Trev came in, and the first music night that I had at my house, I was just singing like a love song that I wrote, and Trev was listening in. And later he comes up to me and he's just like, dude, I'm so proud of you. He's like, I was just looking at you and being like, dude, that's my guy. That's my guy. Like, that's my boy. And I was like, I've never heard those words before, like from anyone. And to hear him from an older, like father figure shifted everything. And for me, it was like, we feel like brothers, and he feels like a father figure in so many ways. And even for us, he's like, dude, I would drop anything for you guys. I posted a video of me crying the other day, and he was with a girl because he started dating again. And she showed him the video because he doesn't get on. And she was like, is Josh okay? Which for me, if I'm crying, I'm great. He didn't know that. And he was like, dude, I need to go home. Josh is my guy. I got to check on him. And so he left and came home to check on me. And I was just like, oh, dude, wow. My dad never did that either. Like, there's just been so many moments. And also I've learned so much about just resilience through Trev. I think Trev, not saying that he views it as a power dynamic, but sometimes he's like, you guys have done so much for me. I can't but inherently feel like I owe you guys something. And we always bring him back to like, dude, you owe us nothing. And I told him this when he called Sky. Said the only thing that I could ever want or ask from you is for you to go be a dad again, because I don't ever get a dad. I don't get my dad back. Sky has a chance to get his dad back, and you have a chance to be a dad again. So from my perspective, selfishly, I would love for Sky to have you be his dad again. And also, like, I feel like a son to you. And he's always like, no, you guys will be family till the day I die. Like, you will know my kids. You will be at gatherings if I'm there. Like, you are family. And for me, that just means the world to me, because it's like Trev could easily just view this as like, yeah, we're just helping him.
Yeah.
He goes his own way. He's back on his feet, and we just say goodbye.
Yeah.
But
he has our backs. And to add on to what Josh said, is how complimented Trevor is, and just how grateful he is, as well as like truly help my self-confidence. And just knowing how much Trevor and Josh both have my back is helped just slingshot me to what I want to do, and believing in myself to just be able to do all the scary things. So Trevor has truly just had my back, and in ways I feel like people haven't really shown up for me before. And I know he genuinely would show up for me.
Well,
in any situation.
I mean, you just dropped a bomb there, the dating thing. Because I think, a lot of people are listening like, okay, stuff happened around Valentine's Day. It's June. Like, so after all of this, like, what is like today look like with Trevor? Is he still living with you guys, or?
Yeah. So, first initial shift was he stopped viewing himself as the homeless, toothless guy. I actually had a dream that Trev walked into my bedroom while I was like asleep and shot himself in the head, but he had no teeth. And it was like this sad, pitiful energy. And at first I woke up and I was like, oh my God. And then one of my friends was like, oh yeah, the old version of Trevor is dead. And I like realized that. And I told Trev the dream, and he was like, holy shit, yeah, like that version of me is dead. Like, I don't view myself as the toothless homeless guy anymore.
He did tell us that he sat us down one night and said, I'll never be homeless again. Like, genuinely, it doesn't matter what happens. That will never happen again. And to hear him say that to us was like, wow. Like, he truly is new man, genuinely.
Yeah.
How did he start dating?
So his dating was a big thing. He didn't think, I mentioned it earlier. We got together before he moved in, and he was like, I just want to be helped. But I don't think anyone would ever want to date me. Obviously, that's Trevor with no teeth.
Oh, you were saying something?
Yeah, I want to share something real quick.
Yeah.
Me, I can't remember if it was me and you or me, my cousin Kara. We were talking about dating, and Trev just starts opening up about like how much of a dog he is on the inside. He's just like, no, I love women. Like, one, I will protect women to the day I die. Like, they are everything that's special to me. And he's like, people that like abuse women, I just like can't stand it. He actually went to jail a couple times in North Dakota because guys at the bar were treating their girls poorly, and he went up and just like deck the shit out of them. And yeah, he's willing to go to bat for any woman. And he very much is a lover. And he was always like, dude, in high school, like I was always dating. Like he had like big dog energy. And I was like, hey, I'm curious how much of that is still there and whether he'll tap back into it. And then Chan.
So he wanted to make like a dating app profile. We had talked about it a lot, if it was like a good thing to do, if it's not a good thing to do. But at one time officially he's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And he'd made a couple, but obviously being not as native to dating apps and everything, a lot of them were kind of just like a selfie, like close up to his face. And I think he had like a Tinder or something, but I was like, dude, let me help you make a Hinge. And I went through my social media because I have a lot of videos of him smiling. That are like the candid photos of him smiling. That's what's going to work on there. Trevor doesn't know that. But I went through, I found all these. I was like, okay, Trev, this is what we're going to put on there. And we put them all on. I was like, okay, this looks great. Later that day, I had a friend come over to the house. And I was like, yeah, dude, we just made Trevor a Hinge. And he's like, well, no way, let me check it out. And Trevor kind of pulls out his phone nervously. And I was like, what? He changed all the photos back to his photos. And I was like, dude, why'd you change the photos? He's like, those photos are weird, man. I'm not even looking at the camera. Like, I'm not posed. I'm not. And I showed my buddy Marshall. I showed him these photos. I said, look, these would be so much better on the Hinge. And Marshall's like, yeah, dude, just trust Chandler. And Trevor's like, I guess every time I've been proven right to trust you online is what he said. He's like, I should just, Chandler's social media guy. Let me trust you. So we put them back on his Hinge. His Hinge explodes. All the photos of him smiling. The girls love the photos, and his Hinge just starts going insane. And then he just starts going on dates. And like at the beginning, yeah, he just immediately back into it. And something that Trevor was and is nervous about was that girls will still just see him as like a homeless identity. Like when he opens up about it and stuff, they don't care because they see who he is now. And like that's a past version of him.
Yeah.
And it's still something he's working through as he's going through navigating dating, because he's just still has a little bit of that scarcity in the sense it's like, oh, I've just been lucky this far, but in the future I'm going to be, again, seen as this. It has not happened once. He, again, just has great energy, and dating has been super successful for him. And girls do not care that he was homeless and do not care that all of this is online about him and everything, because like Trevor is Trevor, which is so awesome.
It's almost like unbelievable.
Yeah. I also want to add that like most people would see a homeless guy dating and immediately assume unsafe. Trev, without fail, has received so much feedback from women, even the girl he's currently seeing, that are all like, every guy I've dated does not compare it to the safety that I feel with you and the way that you treat me, the way that I feel seen around you. Like, Trev is an amazing, amazing lover. Like, from a romantic standpoint, I think any woman would be lucky to be with him. Truly, like, out of all the guys that I know that are, whether age matters or not, Trev is someone that I'm like, dude, if you're with Trev romantically, you will be taken care of the rest of your life. Yeah. In all the ways. Fine.
What about his relationship with his kids?
Ooh. So Sky was the first. And then slowly but surely, just one right after another, up until actually like a week ago, that his youngest, his 16-year-old daughter, finally reached out. And now he is in contact with all 5 of his kids. And he's planning on moving out to Colorado for a bit to spend time with Sky and golf and live out there and just simplify his life a little bit. And he's reconnected with his mother. He's seen all of his siblings except one of his brothers who's also on the street. And we might actually go out and try to find him.
You want to go find him?
We'll see if that's possible, if it aligns and it happens, beautiful. But so far he's reconnected with every person that matters to him. And yeah, everything that we really have made goals for, he's checked off every box. And yeah, now we're in an interesting spot where it's just like, now we're just living life right now. And we're having conversations of just friendship and love and like still de-shaming things and trying to find new perspective and like not be so hard on himself, find more grace for himself. And it's really just been beautiful. Like it feels super flowy.
What's fascinating to me is when people hear the story, some of them might not think I should help someone. They might think I could never do that. Why do you think that is?
I think it's belief in self. Like if you don't believe that you could show up for someone, there's probably a good chance that you probably believe you're not showing up for yourself enough. It's like, dude, it's already hard enough taking care of me. How could I possibly show up for another human? And I don't know, for me, I'm single, I don't have kids. And so I do have some, like, situation wise, I have a situation that allowed for a lot of things to happen that typically wouldn't happen. If I had a family and kids, I probably wouldn't have moved a homeless person into my house. But also I think people that have ever had kids could probably relate. Like, you love them unconditionally, you show up as best you can, you can't fix them, they're not broken, you just try to be there. In a way, Trev has also felt like a child to me, which sounds weird to the listener maybe, but to me it was like, if this was my kid and they were on the street, how would I show up? And for me, that was a mentality that was like, I think everyone can relate to this, because Trev is someone's kid. His mother loves him so dearly. And for me, obviously honoring my capacity, but life is short and people are struggling. And it's like, to your point about service, the moment you get out and do something for others, your life actually becomes better. Mm-hmm. And so the more that I show up, in my brain, my mindset is now, if I'm serving, the more I serve, the better my life is. It's not, I'm giving all my time and energy, now my life's worse and I'm behind. It's like, I actually feel so elevated. So showing up for Trev every time he's struggling, for me, it's a chance for me to feel like so aligned and in flow with life. And it always grounds me back into like, oh, there's so much more than just my internal struggle.
What's interesting is the comments on the videos specifically. I mean, I was just scrolling through, I was just noticing all over the place. Like, every rich person should do this. Like it's only possible if you have money. Why do you think people have that mentality that like every rich person should do this?
I think it is just putting it something outside of yourself. I even did this, right? I told you at the beginning of this that I wanted to help homeless people once I had a lot of money. It's always easy to just put a lot of things for later in life and just put it outside of your current self. And it's also, again, there is like a disparity problem with just wealth and stuff right now. So it's really easy just, I think, to always make it someone else. And obviously it is great if rich people would like help fund a lot of things, and you know, some do, some don't. But yeah, when it's outside of yourself, it's just a lot easier to face those things. You know, every rich family should just move someone into their house. But again, I think imagine if every person treated everyone kindly, how much it would change.
And you have spent years trying to figure out what your life is for. And so, you know, most people don't wake up and decide, oh, I'm going to move a homeless man into my house. So, yeah. You know, what happened in your life that made this feel less crazy to you than it does to everyone else?
I have always just felt this burning desire to just create something and do something. And I didn't know what that looked like when I was a kid. And I went through a lot of phases and a lot of soul searching. I ended up going to Asia for 7 months and just learning a lot about myself. I left to Asia basically being atheist, and I went and had a bunch of spiritual experiences. I saw a lot of people that have had a lot of spiritual experiences through a lot of different mediums as well, just things that are completely unrelated, which was so just eye-opening to me. And it made me really kind of just trust my intuition and whatever, you know, God, universe, whatever it is that is I'm connected to. But I got home and I just kind of had to get a job to make money again. I was kind of restarting because I was just gone. And I felt very lost. And that feeling of being lost was so difficult. That was probably honestly one of the most difficult parts of my life. I was 24. I was living at home. I was working with a server job. And every night I went to bed, I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like, I know that I'm meant for something. And there's a lot of really cool moments I had. Basically, I'll just sum it up, but I was dating this girl and I felt very lost when I was dating her, and I was going to do some crazy career switch. I was going to go into maritime school and become a boat captain, which, by the way, I'd never had desire to do that before because I just wanted to do something. I was just itching for it. And I prayed I feel more sincere than I have ever done in my life. And the next day she broke up with me. And I kind of questioned to, God. And I was like, well, now I know what not to do, but I don't know what to do. And I was with a buddy a couple months later, and I just had the total realization. It's like, I have always wanted to create my whole life. I've always had just a burning desire to create an impact. And even upon meeting Josh, I said, like, yeah, at the end of my life, I've always wanted, once I have the money and resources, I want to help out the homelessness issue, which obviously I'm doing it a lot sooner than later. But once I had the realization I wanted to go all in on impacting and creating and just believe that. The lows that I felt in the time that I just was lost really give me a lot of resolve to do this. So that's why it just makes me not question, because I want to get to my deathbed and be happy that I tried as hard as I could to make a difference. I mean, this is the only thing that's guaranteed, this one life, so why wouldn't I? That's how I feel about it.
So if someone watches this and, to your point about the family, the kids, so if they think, I don't have a spare bedroom, maybe I don't even have a lot of money, I don't know where to start, what do you think they're missing, about what they can offer?
I think there's a lack of community, to be honest. It's like an even deeper problem, which I have community. So I knew Trevor moving into my house, I have Chan, and I have all of the people at my back. It's not me doing this alone. It needs to be a community effort. It takes a village to show up for someone that's struggling, and for someone to just be a friend who if there was actual community in that person's life, someone they know might be like, dude, I would love to offer a room, and I would love to show up for them. And then you can show up for them. And then your other friends can help show up for them. Because Trev had my cousin, Trev had Amy, Trev had Chan, Trev had Garrett, Trev had me, Trev had Kara's daughter Petra, who's a 4-year-old angel, and treats him like a grandpa. And everyone could have been like, I don't know. But because of the love and trust that we had in Trevor, everyone was like, dude, I'm going to give Trevor a shot, and I'm going to view him the way that you guys view him. And now he's best friends with all of them. And they've all shown him so much love and support. And so for me, I just say, don't try to do it alone. Try to find a village, try to build a community where you're not bearing all the weight, because it's not meant to be done by yourself. I couldn't have done it by myself. I know that if Chan wasn't there and I moved him straight into my home and I didn't have the friends and the support, I don't think it would have turned out.
We were talking with Nate about this. Everyone wants a village, but no one wants to be a villager. And I think a great example of that is things like Uber. People used to take you to the airport. You have a friend and you'd inconvenience them and say, hey, yeah, take me to the airport. And they would, because that's being part of a village. But now you don't want to inconvenience anyone when you could just get an Uber, get someone to, bring you food, or you can hire people to do all these things. And it's just isolated all of us. We're pushed away. You can't ask anymore, which is really interesting. But kind of bringing back that villager mentality, we all need to have each other's backs, and I think that's when we will really thrive.
It's a profound point.
Yeah. My
last question. So for both of you, there's so much suffering in the world, and I think a lot of people don't know where to begin. There's homelessness, there's the loneliness, there's addiction, depression. You watch the news. Even your broken family, you could feel kind of powerlessness. And so I think one of the easiest conclusions for people to make is what difference could I possibly make in the midst of all this? So, what would you say to that person who feels overwhelmed by the scale of suffering in the world and has convinced themselves that what they can do is too small to matter?
I would like to say, and I'm going to tie this into what we are doing, because a lot of people might see this story and say, oh, this is a one and done. They just helped the homeless guy and then everything will be forgotten about in a year. And for me, we want to use this as momentum to build something bigger where everyone's small efforts all come together. And then you don't need to change the world by yourself. You can do little moments, but if everyone is coming together in those moments and just offering what they can and the capacity that they can, and we can band it all together, then you start to feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. Show up in love, show up in kindness, show up in compassion, and just do what they can. And if we do that, the world will change. And I've seen what happens on a small scale with a group of 6 to 8 to 10 people surrounding one person who's really struggling. And I've seen how he has changed their lives and how they have changed his life. And I just think big scale, it's small moments. It's people that all they need is just a little bit of belief that they can do something. And all it takes is action. If everyone took one little step of action towards doing something good and they know their heart is good, the world will change.
This quote that I love, it says, "What can I do to change the world?" Said 8 billion people. I think that just puts it into perspective. I think one of the difficult things is a lot of people don't know where to start. And that was myself included. You just don't know how to start helping. And just leading back into what Josh said is we want to build something that gives people direction and how they can start, like easy access to being able to help, whether it is like they want to help financially or they have time to give or like whatever type of help they want to give. We have resources that they can put that energy or currency or whatever it is to help people, but then also be documented to spread that hope and keep people involved, because people do love to be involved. They know they love to know what's going on. Like we talked about the nonprofits and a lot of things at first, you're at Walmart or something and you're asked to donate to something. You don't even know what it is. You don't know where it goes. A lot of people lack any trust with it, but really creating momentum with being just very, why do I lose the word? Transparent. Being very transparent about what you're doing, getting people involved in the stories, and then giving them the resources that they can use to make change will inspire that belief and empowerment of others.
Beautiful. Well, guys, this was one of the most incredible stories we've told on this podcast, legitimately. I think it's just gives people hope. It also gives them language for how they could do something in their own life. And it was just such a privilege to hear it. And so thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
It's beautiful sharing the full story.
Yeah.